Hello everybody, we are back with another episode of the world-famous conversational series MALP, and we are going to be talking about the recent potential changes for the future media landscape of the UK surrounding Andrew Neil, the famous broadly conservative right-wing commentator starting his own 24-hour news channel. But before that, I just want to take a minute to justify Luke's presence here. It's something that occurred to me during our last conversation. It's fair to say that Luke is more knowledgeable than me about the practical side of politics, the recent goings on. I'm into my theory, my nerdy stuff. I like to go to the library, read books by dead guys hundreds of years ago. But Luke knows what's what when it comes to these issues. So Luke, why don't you tell us what's what when it comes to this Andrew Neil forthcoming 24-hour news channel?
I will, Michael, thanks. Yeah, I think we make a good combination. You know about theory more than me. I know about, current events more.
We're a real good team.
Yeah, we are. On to Andrew Neil. Like you say, he's a right-wing British journalist, and he has announced a new 24-hour GB News, that's what it's called, GB News channel, to rival BBC and Sky. Mr. Neil will be the face and chairman of GB News, bringing an end to his relationship with the BBC, where he has been one of the most respected political interviewers. Okay, I guess so. Yeah, there's not many great interviewers are there in the UK.
Jeremy Paxman, Christian Guru Murphy for his ability to piss off celebrities. We love that.
Oh yeah.
To be fair, I don't really see Christian Guru Murphy interview politicians as much, which is weird because you'd think he'd be good at pissing them off, which would be fun.
The Conservatives have boycott Channel 4 News, so that's part of it, and there's a reason for it, which we'll get into. Anyway, so plans are in place for Britain's news channel aimed at those who feel, quote, undeserved and unheard by their media, to launch early next year. So this is the thing. Obviously, it's going to be a right-wing TV news station, and it's just quite funny how they've said unheard when obviously our press in the UK is about, what would you say, about 85% right-wing?
If we're talking about, certainly written press is hugely right-wing. I'd say with the television, it's less extreme, and I think arguably you could say the television press is overwhelmingly more centrist than anything else, but yeah, definitely in terms of the text, the written word.
I mean, the BBC, they have to, and ITV, they have to abide by broadcasting standards, so they have to be quote-unquote impartial. I would say it's hard to be, biased when you're just reading out what's happening in the news. Of course, you can frame it in certain ways, which is what I think undoubtedly GB News will do. Yeah. But a crucial thing that I think they will do is have segments where they invite political commentators on just to discuss the news.
Yes.
And there will be a ton of right-wing people.
I think he explicitly mentioned Fox News, saying his plan was to do something where you would have individual shows, the same way in Fox News they have, for example, the O'Reilly Factor, whatever Tucker Carlson's doing, basically.
Yeah, O'Reilly's been fired now.
Yeah. But they have
the Ingram Angle.
Yeah. They have these shows associated with particular commentators. Andrew Neil explicitly mentioned that as a thing he wanted to do with his channel, and he did say he wanted to get left-wing people coming on. He said, it's still going to be balanced, we're still going to get left-wing people on there. I don't know exactly what that's going to amount to, but...
what does he mean by left-wing people?
Yeah. You're right to say that it's not just going to be presenting the news impartially, because by the sounds of things, he's going to do what Fox News does. He's going to have these people go on there and, give their little breakdowns of the news, and that would be very reminiscent of Fox News. And I think CNN and other things do that as well, but much more kind of personality-oriented news presentations.
That's the thing. I would be very interested to see if, say, Owen Jones got an hour, but he's not going to get an hour. It's going to be people who are right-wing, like Andrew Neil. The furthest left we will go is some centrist from The Independent. But anyway, I'll continue. He says, we will champion robust, balanced debate and a range of perspectives on the issues that affect everyone in the UK. And this is interesting, not just those living in the London area.
I can't wait to see the West Country Farmer show. Let's talk about combine harvesters and what they're useful for. It's not just for London, this show.
Yeah, let's cater to racist people, basically, in the north. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's true.
And, it's a dog whistle, basically. London, a lot of ethnic minority people, a lot of liberals, that's what people associate with London. At least that's what Andrew Neil
does. No, it's fine. I'm sure we're going to get some people from Bradford. That's what he means when he says outside of London. Lots of...
Yeah, I am interested in why this is happening. Obviously, we are in the middle of a coronavirus pandemic. We're in Brexit negotiations, and I think the reason why GB News is being set up now, of all times, is because that the Conservative government is in trouble.
Yeah.
And I want to take you back to when Fox News was first dreamed up by Roger Ailes, because of course, that Andrew Neil compared it to Fox News, and I am comparing it to Fox News. They do want to make this as Fox Newsy as they possibly can. Roger Ailes came up with the idea of a right-wing TV show to put the GOP on TV. It was after Watergate. Of course, an absolute humiliation for the right wing. It was when the liberal media and the Democrats joined forces and ruined Richard Nixon's presidency. And the right wing absolutely loved Richard Nixon. He was a cultural warrior for them. He instituted the economic policies they wanted. He went back on his promises to end the war in Vietnam. He was still bombing Cambodia and Laos, flouting international law. Like, they couldn't get enough of him. And he gets kicked out by the Democrats in 1974 because of Watergate. Right-wingers absolutely hated Watergate so much. In 1996, Fox News begins, and obviously, I don't know why it took them until 96, possibly because of Bill Clinton winning in 1992. I'm going to guess that was the reason. So the first Democrat to win an election in 16 years. Obviously, Carter won in 76. I think you have a similar situation with GB News in the UK. I really don't think the right wing and conservatives in general are very happy about how things are going. Things are crumbling, really, because of the pandemic and the criticism they have received from that. Think about, we have in the news today how students are being forced to spend Christmas at their accommodation.
Yeah.
And Boris Johnson's popularity is decreasing at quite a rapid rate. And there's also Brexit, which is a concern. I mean, the massive lies about Brexit are, I guess, a bomb. That's the best way to describe it under the Conservative Party. And it's 4 months until it goes off. And things could get really bad if there's a no-deal Brexit. Real bad. You see someone like Andrew Neil. He has been complaining on Twitter about how the EU isn't seen as, evil, and it should be basically seen as evil, and how it's unfair to assume Britain is losing in negotiations with the EU. And that's obviously the case. Like, he has drank, he's one of the most quote-unquote respected journalists in the UK, but he still drank the Kool-Aid concerning Brexit. I think they understand that they need to consolidate media support even more than they have done already. They know they are in power because of the media. That's how Brexit happened in the first place. That's how, they won the 2019 election. They know they need the media badly. Now more than ever, they need to have it on their side. And I genuinely think that's why they're starting this GB News channel. Also, Boris Johnson is going to try to appoint two people to very interesting positions. So there's Charles Moore and Paul Dacre, or Decree, however you say it. Do you know who they are, Michael?
Yeah, well, one of them is in charge of the Telegraph, and one of them's in charge of the Daily Mail, and I don't know which way around it is, so...
Paul Dacre is the former editor of the Daily Mail, and Lord Moore, or Charles Moore, the former editor of the Daily Telegraph and biographer of Margaret Thatcher, is believed to be considering accepting the role of chairman of the BBC, and of course Paul Dacre, as editor of the Mail, just slammed the BBC for years and years, as has the Telegraph, under Charles Moore. By the way, Charles Moore, I just want to mention this column which he wrote back in July. If we must be slim, why are so many nurses fat? That was
That is the most important question of our time, actually.
That so many NHS staff are overweight will only make it harder to convince the public to take weight loss advice. That's very interesting. But that's the thing. These are the people who are now Boris Johnson wants to put in charge of the BBC and Ofcom. Very right-wing, very much against the BBC. It is because they recognise how important the media is. They desperately need it on their side. That's why they've been boycotting shows like Newsnight, Channel 4 News. They've even been boycotting Good Morning Britain, that show hosted by the left-wing stalwart Piers Morgan.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you agree with my analysis here, Michael?
That's the thing. I mean, they're childish snowflakes. When you look at, for example, the big thing with media in the 2019 election, for me, I think, was the anti-Semitism thing. The way that the Conservatives were able to mobilise that was the main thing people associated with Jeremy Corbyn, which I think made it much harder for the Labour to get out there. So I think the Conservatives have always been good at manipulating the media.
You say manipulating, they were basically on the same side.
I think it's an interesting issue, because I do think the thing is, the BBC, they are the worst type of centrism, in that their centrism consists of not really analysing any side, but simply just presenting both sides as they want to be presented, which is terrible when one side is intentionally presenting things in a way to be as manipulative and dodgy as possible. And I think, for me, that's kind of the issue. I think if the Labour were better at communicating their message, and when I say communicating their message, I mean communicating their message in the most Machiavellian, duplicitous way possible. But I think if Labour was better at it, they would be able to fare much better. So I don't think it's necessarily the case that the BBC is actively working for the Conservatives or working with the Conservatives. I just think it's a case that the BBC is not equipped to deal with the Conservatives when the Conservatives push one particular narrative, because the BBC is like, well, we can't, we have to cover it. We're impartial. It's what's being spoken about. We have to cover it. We can't criticize it or anything like that. That's kind of my opinion. I mean, obviously, I should say in the case of the Daily Mail and things like that, obviously they're, right wing.
Yeah. No, you are right. Like, they're not equipped to deal with the Conservatives. And that hasn't been the case for the last 10 years. But the Conservatives have been working with the media, especially in the 2019 election, to get them over the hump. Like, what we saw in December and November 2019 was just incredible. And it probably will never be repeated again, considering, I doubt someone like Jeremy Corbyn will ever get elected as Labour leader. Yeah, which is a kind of a shame, but at the same time, you're never going to see the vitriol that happened last year. But anyway, so I've highlighted the short-term reasons for doing this. Brexit obviously is something that the Conservative Party pushed, and now, obviously, last year Boris Johnson won an election saying we have an oven-ready deal on Brexit. Let's get Brexit done, and now he's like, well, you know what, actually this Brexit plan, which we said was amazing and was oven-ready, is actually really shit, and we didn't actually realise at the time how shit it was. And it's not because we were lying to you or anything, it's just that, we're just massively incompetent. I mean, that's one of the two things that it has to come down to.
Exactly.
Either we were lying to you or we're incompetent. Pick which one. But, of course, the papers will frame it in a way where it's the fucking EU once again trying to screw over the UK somehow. So that's one side of it. Short-term concerns, but another side of it is they have wanted to do something like this for ages, the right wing in the UK. For years and years, like the media, the Daily Mail, the Telegraph, the Sun, have been complaining about all manner of things to do with, refugees, the EU, obviously, and also BBC left-wing bias. Like, that has been hammered home so much. And now that they are in power, I mean, David Cameron, like the Daily Mail cohort, they weren't really in power, because Cameron was more moderate. Now with Boris Johnson, Dominic Cummings, they are really in power. They see this as an opportunity to shape things to their will. They will basically demand total support from the media. Do you remember, it was like a month ago, the Rule Britannia thing?
Oh, yeah. So the proms.
Proms wouldn't sing Rule Britannia, so the newspapers went into like a 10-day meltdown about it, complaining about the woke BBC and all of that. There was this MP as well who wrote a letter to the BBC complaining about Lewis Goodall. Do you know who he is or not?
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's a producer on Newsnight. An article in the New Statesman about how badly the government had fucked up the care home situation. Yeah. And then you have an MP writing to the BBC saying this can't be allowed, while you have Andrew Neil still at the BBC, the guy who's literally the editor of The Spectator, a very right-wing magazine. These guys, they are absolutely desperate and have been for years to normalise the idea that BBC journalists putting the Conservative Party or the government under scrutiny breaches the so-called impartiality guidelines. They are absolutely desperate for that. And now they are trying to take their chance. They're trying to seize their opportunity. And it's something that Dominic Cummings highlighted in 2004 when he said, there are 3 structural things that the right wing need to do in terms of communications. The undermining of the BBC's credibility was number 1. I mean, again, they've been doing that for 40 years. Yeah. The creation of a Fox News equivalent, GB News, is going to be as close to that as they possibly can be, I think. And the end of the ban on TV political advertising, which they haven't tried to do yet. But it doesn't really matter because, of course, there's Facebook, where they can pump out all the misleading ads that they like. Back to 2019, in that election, 88% of the Conservative ads on Facebook were in some way misleading. Yes. Which is, that is like Trump-style lying. Like, that would be, if that happened in the United States, and Trump was found to have done that, and the Republicans, there would be so many headlines about that. But in the UK, who cares? Whatever. It's fine. Because, the media is...
The Conservatives are the fact-checkers.
Yes, I remember that. Okay, and they can just do that and get away with it. This is the thing. I don't know if it'll have a big effect on British media in general. Because everybody who watches, the average age of a BBC viewer is 61.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty old, and the old people vote Conservative. So I don't know how much effect it will actually have, but they're trying their best, man. They're trying their absolute best to try and save themselves.
I think the only concern is not so much that it will increase the number of people who vote Conservative, but that it could increase how radical the Conservative Party is. So, for example, Fox News, if you have a massive base of old people who are believing really radical ideas, then you are going to see the Conservatives are able to push for more radical ideas because they'll be alienating fewer of their base when they push for more radical ideas. Although having said that, they could end up in a situation like Trump where they end up then alienating their moderate supporters quite considerably. So it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. I could see that happening, especially seeing as in the UK, there is a whole thing about masks and all these 5G conspiracy theories and all that stuff. There's a growing number of people who are primed and ready to accept these crazy ideas. So I think that's the main concern, that this could become a thing where lots of Facebook mums and old people start watching this show and end up becoming way more radical in right-wing beliefs than that, and then you just end up with a more, well, it just shifts the Overton window to the right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's what they want to do, I guess, as well. That's key for them. And yeah, I think we in the UK, we're less likely to believe conspiracy theories than America. And I'm not really sure why that is. Maybe that's a discussion for another time. So yeah, the likes of a QAnon conspiracy theory gaining traction here, I'm not sure it would ever happen, but definitely, about a month and a half ago, you had Sky News and the BBC on boats looking at like refugees in the Channel, like shooting them like it was a reality TV show. And that right there that's just going to happen more and more. This GB News, and again, it's going to radicalize people even further. And it's I think you're going to see we're going to get some great clips over the next few months of just absolutely fucking insane things being said on that channel. And yeah, like I said, they're going to get as close to Fox News as they possibly can. Yeah,
to be fair, it is almost entertaining if you just imagine that you don't care about anything in the world. You can just sit back and be like, that's going to be quite funny.
Yeah, maybe just don't care about it and it'll all be fine.
Yeah, I want to see a British version of Fox News. I think it would be very good. Like, these PC liberals want us to give up our fox hunting.
Yeah, well, it'll just be fucking Daily Telegraph and Daily Mail on TV. Yeah, that's what it will be like. Which is why I don't think it'll have that big an effect, because there's already the newspapers out there. Yeah, the real danger, like you say, is just the further radicalisation. Just the right wing just moving. Well,
I will say I don't think that's quite as much of a concern in the UK, because for whatever reason, thankfully, we still do kind of have a multi-party system here, which I think does help to alleviate the risk of more radical parties, because it does mean that, you're going to have a bigger variety. So I guess that's one benefit. We're not going to get what they have in the US, where they have two options, the sane party and the insane party. We're still going to have some variety. So maybe you could see a situation where, for example, if the Conservatives got too radical, then sure, it's not like the moderate Conservatives would vote for Labour, but they might vote for the Liberals. So it's kind of a situation where the fact that the Liberals exist might create a bit of a safety buffer against the Conservatives becoming too radical, because it's not like, the Conservatives have to go all the way. It'll be interesting.
I think that they've consolidated 40% of the vote.
Yeah.
And it's very, and Liberals, they'll switch from Labour to back to the Lib Dems, but I think the Conservatives, because of the the constant newspaper agenda, and Brexit has radicalised a bunch of people. I think they've locked in about 40% of the vote, and it's not going away.
Yeah.
But I mean, I said things were crumbling before. I mean that in the sense that things might get really bad, so bad that they go down to 36%. That's the limit.
I mean, it is interesting, because it kind of feels like we're going to have had almost 15 years of Conservative rule by the next election, and you kind of feel like it almost is insane that it could even be possible that the Conservatives will win the next election. It feels like that almost doesn't happen. You just never get parties retaining power for that long. And certainly I can't think of the last time that any party, and I mean, how long was, I guess the Conservatives under Margaret Thatcher was quite a long time, so never mind. But certainly it does feel crazy to imagine that they could win that many times. So hopefully in 2024 there will be a Labour victory, and therefore at least the country will have a while to recover and kind of readjust from the whole Conservative slope, because you just can't see how they can keep this going a consistent Conservative majority over the next decade.
No, but they're setting things up. That's what these media projects are for. They're setting things up so they can just continue.
Yeah. I am this is one example where I'm kind of a bit of a great man theorist, in that I think the main solution is going to happen not from impersonal societal forces, but rather there's just going to have to be somebody who does a good job at capturing the public eye and making it so people are like, oh, actually, yeah, we don't have to vote for Conservatives because Conservatives are shit. Maybe Keir Starmer is kind of just about being that person. I disagree with some of the things he's said and done, but I do think that he might be doing a pretty decent job at being a credible opposition to Boris Johnson. So we'll see.
And we'll see. But definitely, yeah, by the looks of things, with the Paul Dackery hire, the Charles Moore hire, and Andrew Neil with this GB News. Yeah, they really want to consolidate. They really want the media completely on their side.
And we could see a situation where we get the same thing where, for example, Keir Starmer is being called a socialist on GB News or whatever, and we're going to get the exact same situation where then the Labour are going to be like, oh no, Keir Starmer was called a socialist. We're going to have to nominate, basically doing exactly what the Democrats do, which is whoever Obama was called a socialist, we need to nominate someone even more moderate, even more centrist, and then that person gets called a socialist, and we might find ourselves in that situation. So it will be interesting, but
the Overton window, as you said, moves to the right once more, as it has done in the UK for the past 15 years, which is just wonderful. There you go. Do you want to sum up?
Yeah, so so basically that's bad news. But I think it shows why this show we've got right here is very important, that we need to be able to call it out. We're going to become even more valuable. And maybe one day, move aside GB News, we've got Malp News. But until then, it's goodbye from me.
Yeah, goodbye as well. I don't think we should end so formally.
No.
We should just cut it out.
Okay, yeah, right. Fuck off. So...
Do it! Just do it! Yes, you can!